Welcome, everyone, to the most iconic episode of the podcast.
Yes, this is Dark Alignment Podcast. I am Brittney.
And I'm Eruca Rose.
And we are a true crime astrology podcast. We cover all things darkly aligned. The reason this episode is so iconic is because we are going to be covering my very favorite person and mega superstar, amazing goddess, Brittney Jean Spears, and I could not be happier. So
we're really excited. We have Brittney merch on.
We have all the
Brittney merch behind us.
We've got Brittney candles. We've got Brittney coffee mugs. We've got Brittney sweatshirts on. We are here being so happy.
And Brittney in our hearts.
Always. She never leaves our hearts, ever. Mm-hmm. Especially not mine. I'm a diehard fan. Anybody who's listened to this podcast for a while knows that. So thank you if you are a returning listener, and welcome if you are brand new. Then we have something in common because you wanted to hear about Brittney Spears and how amazing she is and hear all about her astrology. So this is...
Let's go!
Yes, let's go. So lots of reasons this episode is going to be iconic. We're covering one of the hugest stars in the entire world for the last 25 years. Obviously, Brittney is amazing, but also we are going to be totally switching up the way we normally do our podcast.
I'm so excited.
Yes, we are playing around with a new format, so you're going to kind of go on a ride with us in this episode. Like, it's going to be a different flow. We're trying it out. This is very exciting. So let us know what you think if you are a regular listener, what you think about this kind of different flow. Mm-hmm. This is just a different vibe for the episode. We normally really hate who we're talking about. Like... Mm-hmm. The last episode we covered Fred and Rosemary West, and they are just literal human garbage.
They are. So that was one of the worst episodes for me. Mm-hmm. Oh my god,
it's pretty horrible. So major trigger warnings if you go back and listen to that that story. It's a great interesting thing to understand with the charts. Like the charts were like really fantastically.
And the story was insane.
So. The story is like unfathomably
I knew it was
awful.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's how to say it.
It's like your worst.
Unfathomably awful. Unfathomably.
It's like, I can't believe this actually happened. It's horrible. But the charts were really interesting, and a lot of people don't know about that story. So it's interesting.
So this will be also a dark episode, but in a different way.
Yep, dark in a different way, but with a very happy ending. We don't normally have... I hate saying happy ending. I feel like it's gross. I can't say that. We don't have happy endings on this podcast. It's great. Okay, so you can find us on social media. You can connect with us. We are on all the platforms. So Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, we're everywhere. So like us, follow us, interact, subscribe if you're on YouTube.
Hit the button.
Hit the right buttons. Also,
hit the right buttons. Maybe there'll be a happy ending.
Maybe, yes. We can make that statement confidently on this podcast, I think.
In this context.
Sure.
We absolutely can.
If that's an isolated audio clip, I don't know what to do. All right. But you can also rate us if you are on Apple Podcasts. It really helps us out. Reviews are really, really great. So let us know what your favorite Brittney Spears song is. Just like, anything really helps.
Do you want to start off with yours?
So I have a top 3, and they include music video. So it's not. That was a very loaded. Notice I had to put my things down.
I know you totally switched gears. I saw it happen.
I can't believe you asked me this, but So top 3 in no particular order, because you can't.
Okay, rank them past that.
Toxic.
Yes,
is up there.
That's one of mine.
Slave for you.
Yeah,
very
too.
much up there.
Me too.
It's hard to beat. And it's kind of a toss-up. Circus. And Stronger is kind of like tied in there. So they're all for very different reasons. But I love me a Brittney dance break in a video. And so that is very much factored into the
Slave
rating.
for You one is amazing.
Slave for You is iconic. I did recreate it for my Brittney Spears pole dance tribute that I did a couple of years ago.
It was so good.
That's on YouTube if you ever want to see that. It was a good time. And then like Toxic was just so, I remember the first time I saw that video, I remember waiting for the premiere and watching MTV and waiting for the big reveal. If you were there, like, comment and let me know. But I remember when I first saw the sheer bodysuit that was just rhinestones, and she's like on the ground doing like
amazing.
This. I was like, what is happening? I remember like losing my mind. I think I audibly screamed. I was like losing my shit. So good. It was such a moment. So like, and Circus was phenomenal. We're going to talk about kind of the timeline of some of her videos too, specifically Circus. So hang on to that for when we get into the story. That one is, I'll talk more about why I love that one. And Stronger, Brittney in a chair for like a solid 3 minutes. I'm here for it.
I don't know about that one as much. I really also like the classic, like, hit me one more, baby, hit me one more time.
Yeah.
Because I was younger.
Yeah.
I was younger. And then I liked Womanizer, and then the one...
Okay, Womanizer is such a cute video. Yeah. And she did the behind the scenes.
I really liked the video for it. I really liked the video.
She had so much fun. She called that character Matilda, actually. She named that character. Yeah, the whole behind the scenes of it. That she does, and she's like doing impressions of her dad. So cool. And she's like, Brittney Jean, Britney Spears, like, get your ass over here. Like, she's like making fun of her dad the whole time behind the scenes in her like outfit with the little wig, and like, it's great. I think that was on For the Record. It's a documentary, which was one of my sources. I will
also if you seek Amy, because it's Amy.
That one's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, that's it.
We've had Brittney moments. I feel like we're all excited and ready to get into the story and try out this new flow we're going to do. But I will start with my sources. Wikipedia. I still need to do my annual donation. I need more accountability. I cannot make it through the end of the year without fucking doing this. So, like, hold me hostage until I donate to Wikipedia. Lots of different podcasts that I've been listening to for years and years and years. So, like, a solid 3 years of, like, over 100 episodes of these podcasts. So, it's hard to, like, really nail it down. But Brittney's Gram, the original podcast that began the Free Britney movement, they actually came out with Toxic, the Britney Spears story. So Tess and Babs, who do Tess Barker and Babs Gray, they do that podcast, and they help produce the Britney Spears story, Toxic. Eat, Pray, Brittney is wonderful. I love those girls. They're super cute, and they are just such hardcore fans, and they do a lot of great research. Several documentaries that most of the world has seen. So, For the Record that I mentioned already, Framing Britney Spears was kind of a lot of people's first introduction to the conservatorship, and that came out very recently. Controlling Britney Spears was the second one that actually got into some shocking stuff that even I didn't know as a super fan. They did
really good then.
That's the one that I was like, I learned new things about this case, which I didn't think was possible. So that was really fucking intense to learn extra stuff. And then some publications, the New York Post. I've got a lot of references from a New York Post article that's pretty relevant, talking about some family history. So,
okay.
All right. My disclaimer for this episode is a little bit different. It's not my typical trigger warning how I would normally do, but I promised to cover Brittney once the conservatorship ended. And since November 12th of 2021, that is done. But out of respect for Brittney, I will not be mentioning anything at all concerning 2007 and the issues surrounding the beginning of the conservatorship. She hates when people talk about it. We're only going to focus on the terrible people that caused it. We're going to look at the 13-year battle for her freedom. This is a human rights issue, and we want to make some predictions and have some meaningful dialogue.
Look towards the future.
About what will happen as far as accountability for these individuals, mainly her family. Also want to focus on the amazing life ahead of her now that she's free. But, you know, this is all just for the predictive aspects of this, purely just speculation. There's no, I just want to make that very clear. I cannot be sued for this. So let's fucking go.
No one sue us, please.
Yeah, let's fucking go. These are my opinions and thoughts about predictions later.
This is for entertainment purposes only.
Thank you. This is a podcast. In case you didn't know. Okay, so now we're going to talk about Brittney. We were talking about it right before we started recording, how she has the it factor.
She does.
We were comparing
She's an
her
icon.
To some other celebrities that came up around her time and how she is different in a lot of ways and how it's like things that, you know, what she's remembered for. But from the very beginning, she had that like it factor that made people care about her. So our girl was born December 2nd, 1981.
Which should be today when this is airing.
Yes, and actually today as we're filming this, it is my mama's birthday. She is 87 years old today. I love you, Mama, even though you don't listen to this podcast or know. She knows I have a podcast, but she doesn't know what a
podcast is.
Yeah, she doesn't actually understand. But she's my favorite person on earth. So, and I told her on Thanksgiving that her birthday was the day before Britney Spears, and she just thought
she's
it was
like,
fun.
"Oh, I wish I could have waited one more day."
Yeah.
To come out.
I wish she didn't say that, but I'd love it if she did. Let's pretend she did.
I'll pretend she did.
So she was born in Macomb, Mississippi. Obviously, she's a Sagittarius sun with her birthday. A happy Sagittarius season, everybody.
Yes.
She was raised in a tiny town in Louisiana called Kentwood with her older brother, Brian, and she eventually got her younger sister, Jamie Lynn. We are really going to talk about her later, so hold on to that. But their family was super religious. Brittney was raised Southern Baptist, so that's intense. But she enjoyed singing in the choir. So this was kind of like her first introduction to music as a child. And same, like that's what made me love to sing was like I went to church and it gave me a place to like sing in a group. So it's a lot of kids who love to sing are exposed in this type of setting. And fun fact for Brittney and like her spirituality, this is kind of just thrown in here. But she studied Kabbalah at one point and she converted to Catholicism in August of this year.
She did?
Yes.
Okay.
She's still a very faith-based person, so it's like big Sagittarius themes here. But back to her childhood, I just thought that was a fun fact.
And I've seen her get interested in astrology and talk about astrology.
Absolutely. So there's a strong chance that she would watch this, which is another reason it's like I'm not going to talk about anything that she would not be comfortable with, which actually me just completely gushing over her would probably make her super uncomfortable. So I'm sorry, Brittney. I love you though. I can't help it. But okay, so she started doing some local performances when she was only 3. She was selected to do her first solo at her dance studio. So that's super cute. She's always been a fantastic dancer. She sang in public for the first time when she was 5 at her kindergarten graduation, which is just adorable. In addition to dance, she also had gymnastics and voice lessons. She ended up competing in and winning a lot of state level competitions and a bunch of different children's talent shows. She auditioned for the Mickey Mouse Club when she was 8, but the casting director said she was too young. But they just were putting it on pause for a little while. They recommended her for a different role. They recommended her to be the lead in an off-Broadway production of the musical called Ruthless. So she got her start like in a Broadway type setting. Like she was, which is super cute. She also appeared as a contestant on Star Search, which I've seen these clips. Have you ever seen the clips of her?
I think some of them. And she's still singing in the lower tones, right, on those?
Oh, she had like a big power vocal voice when she was a child. Like it was really like deep and like strong and like
like the because that's usually the clips. Like I've seen the conspiracy theories about how like they made her sing higher or whatever for as she got older. And so I've like went out and looked for the videos of her singing lower.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, she's super cute in that one. She was adorable. And she was in a lot of different commercials. So she had like some commercial acting jobs, which is kind of cool. But in December of 1992, so again, like Sagittarius season, which is fun, she got to be on Mickey Mouse Club officially. So she was old enough. They felt like she was the right fit. She was a featured dancer on the show, but she also could sing and act.
And what year did you say?
1992. Okay. December 1992.
All right.
So she had a huge voice like we just talked about, but she was like, she had a lot of fun on there, and she was on there with a lot of famous people like Christina Aguilera, Justin Timberlake. I want to say like, oh my gosh, what is her name? I want to say Carrie Russell. It doesn't feel right. I should have written these down, but there were a lot of celebrities that were on there with her at that time. So it was a really good cast. It was a really good like little group of kids. But they were all devastated because the show was canceled in 1994. So she got this like big break, had felt like she was, doing her thing. And then like, that's a super devastating thing. She had to go back home to Kentwood, go back to school, which is really hard.
That's a huge transition to have to make.
And more than that, like kids are very jealous. When you get that type of attention and you're on a TV show and then you go back to your like little small town and get that like hateful jealousy stuff. But everybody I feel like really liked Brittney still. She was actually like still really popular and she was a jock in school. She played basketball.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she was like a little bit more of a tomboy in her real life and like had a lot of fun and had decent grades, but like never like, she wasn't like a straight A student, but she had like normal grades, just like seemed to have a good time. I had a pretty normal life while she was, in that weird transitional period. So, I just think that's really some fun facts about her. Okay. So that's just like her early stuff. Do we want to look at anything early in her chart before we move into family dynamics?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I'm excited. This is so fun.
We could look at anything.
Okay.
I know like there are tons and tons of people who have covered Britney Spears' chart, which is why I typically don't do celebrity astrology. Like that's why I wanted to do kind of like darker theme stuff because it's less talked about and I'm, it's very Scorpio of me. But I feel like if you want to just hear about her natal chart, then you'll hear it from a lot of sources, a lot of people, different people. So I'll touch on some things and we'll keep going because we actually have a lot more charts we want to pull related to Brittney and everyone around her and her
I could
future.
do a short list of the people we are probably going to talk about. If you want,
that's okay. We'll surprise them. Them. So Brittney's natal chart. So everyone's familiar. She is a Sagittarius sun, like we said, at 10 degrees 2 seconds Sagittarius. Then she is an Aquarius moon. She has her moon in Aquarius.
I didn't know that.
She has my moon.
I love that. That makes me happy.
Moon sisters, Brittney.
Yes.
And that's at 12 degrees 25 seconds. And from the time that I found on the internet, we have her at 1:30 a.m. being born. So that puts her at a Libra rising, which I feel like fits.
Yeah, it does.
That is 2 degrees 41 seconds Libra. Both my daughters are.
Oh, that's right.
They're gonna be famous too. No,
I'm gonna love Libra energy.
I really like Libra rising energy. I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
But it does make this really interesting thing where all of your houses are kind of in the opposite signs, especially if you don't have an interception, which she does not. So on her chart, every house cusp is on the opposing sign of its ruler.
Wow.
So it makes it where everything you do in life, one of my coworkers who I talk to every day has this, everything you do in life is always kind of like opposing itself. So like you're approaching life in this Libra type way, okay, which is in itself the antithesis of the ego. Like your first house is the house of kind of the ego in a way. I think also you could argue the fifth house with Leo and the word ego, whatever. But your identity, you being a person in this life, first house, it's traditionally ruled by Aries, which has that same energy with it, right? But Libra and the seventh house are about the backside, the shadow, the like behind, like the lack of ego, the lack of identity, like literally being like bouncing out all your options and thinking like, well, I don't really have a strong opinion, so I have a hard time deciding between. I'm just bouncing all my options out. It's kind of this like limbo shadow space a little bit. It's the idea of having a partner, that kind of energy. So a lot of times there'll be phases of these people's lives, since their identity is in the place of like a shadow or a partnership, they end up finding themselves, or they have to see themselves through the reflection of someone else. So they kind of have to have someone else to bounce off sometimes, and sometimes they'll prefer, I say sometimes, but often they'll prefer to have someone around, like partly for that reason, so they can kind of like bounce off of somebody. It also can just be like a preference for the person. Like they would rather have another person around rather than like, I want to be alone.
And that sucks because she was isolated for so fucking long. So it's like even more torturous.
And I think about that.
That pisses me off so much, even more. Like as if I'm not upset enough. Like
I think about how when she had, I know like her mom was taking her out to like New York or somewhere. And then she had this other, her lady, Fee.
Yeah, so
and she had her for a long time, and I think that would be perfect for this.
I actually didn't talk about, I can talk about that really quick. I don't even have it in here. I just talked to you
about it. She's an important person. So.
Yeah, so anybody who's familiar, obviously, with Brittney knows about Fiona, or Fee, who she was in the recent documentaries. So people who not super familiar but watched the documentaries, at least were exposed to Fiona. But Fee is a close family friend. And when Brittney was performing in New York and doing the theater stuff before she got on the Mickey Mouse Club, she needed kind of like a chaperone, somebody to help her out because Lynn had other kids that she had to like come back and take care of and couldn't just be there all the time with the schedule and everything. And so Fee is a close family friend who like stepped in and like took care of that. So yeah.
And I think that dynamic, that makes like her... That probably would have made her really comfortable and really happy.
Yep. She loves Fee to this day. Like they are
someone
close.
like to be with during all of this. Yeah. So.
And Fee's with her the whole time. So amazing. Well, I love it.
Anyway, with the houses being like flipped, again, we have that issue with the identity of being your first house, not really having an identity, with the energy it's channeled through. And then on the other end, like your shadow side has a huge like presence. So that can make it very flip-floppy. And it's like that for all your houses, all the areas of your life are flipped. Like something else that I thought was interesting with her 4th and 10th house, which would be like, you know, your home life and then also your public life and what what you're known for, your reputation. Having them flipped puts it where her home life was very controlled and very rigid and very Capricorn-y.
Yeah.
And then her public life is where people care about her and like where she finds nourishment and nurturing and things like that. Like it'll shift as she's older, but like her home life as child especially, that seems to be like it fits. Like it fits very well. And her south node is in the 4th house in the Capricorn space. So she's moving away from that as she goes through her life into more of the Cancer 10th house space. So as she goes through life, I feel like this is only going to get stronger. Like this is going to be, people are going to love her more and more and more.
Yay!
So I think that this is really great. And mother, her wanting to be a mother and like have more kids even, I think having that Cancer North Node placement in the 10th house, like it's going to be public and there's going to be, people are going to like be able to get excited for her being a mom. And,
yay. Yeah. I have that actually, we'll probably talk a lot more about that.
Yeah, we'll go into more of her future, but I wanted to point those few things out.
Those are great. I love it. I'm so happy.
I know. Something else that I'm sure other people have mentioned with her chart is like the need for freedom, the want for freedom. It was something I wanted to mention where Aquarius, her moon sign, and Sagittarius, her sun placement, both really value freedom. She obviously still likes the building of an empire, right? Because she's built something huge with her life. And that was partly because of her home situation. And that's why we find Venus in Capricorn on her south node in the 4th house.
Man, that's intense.
I know. So she also, her heart space is going to be really kind of like muddled and pulled every which direction and kind of like manipulated as she goes on her life path because of this south node Venus placement. And she almost has to learn to be like less caring in a way, like but like caring in a different way, because Venus being in Venus is caring, but also like is her North Node placement in Cancer, but like having it where she has to kind of be more assertive as she gets older, and she will get to be more assertive, and like how she learned like that people will listen to her in court, and she can do some things about it, and she can like I'm sure there's other instances in her life, but
we've seen a lot of that courage come through, and that's in a very strong way, obviously recently. So that's awesome. That's fantastic.
A couple other things on her chart I want to say before we move on. That South Node and Venus placement has a grand trine to her Chiron and Mars, and it's all Earth signs. It's an Earth grand trine. She has Mars in Virgo, which I think her action being so detailed but still goddessy is very Mars Virgo.
That's very awesome.
When I hear her talk about how she puts her like stage performances together and how she wants to be like in control of everything that she's doing and make sure everything is done how she wants it to be. She's in the dances. Like she's the one who teaches in
the choreography.
Exactly. Like she's doing all of that, and she has the precision and the detail that like, but still the action and drive behind it to make it great, and like that goddess energy, like I said, it just really fits for me. And being able to put the work in like day to day to, you know, you sow the seeds, grow the plants, and you get to have the harvest. I think it really fits with Virgo. And the other thing on her grand trine is this Chiron in retrograde in Taurus in the 8th house. I think this shows a lot of that controlling nature that's come through. The Chiron placement being in Taurus makes it where she's not able to like have the things she wants. She's not able to live by her own values. She wasn't able to. It's almost like you're victimized in your own home when you're with your own things, with your own money, with your own finances, because you have Taurus being the things you have, what you value and what is of value. And finances often correlated with Taurus. So having Chiron here, it hit all of those things for her. On her, I see a lot of this as part of her Chiron journey. People also talk about a lot of the things that have happened with her being involved with Pluto transits, and with that, but also look at the Chiron placement. Okay, and then it's in the 8th house, which can have to do with other people's money and like death and transformation and change and unseen things.
Yes,
it's so crazy. Having these all as a grand trine is going to end up being even more empowering for her in the long run. It actually forms a kite with her North Node involved as well. So, she does have a stellium in Libra. If you count asteroids, she has Ceres, Pluto, Saturn, and Pallas in Libra. She has Jupiter in Scorpio like me. Hey,
ooh.
Cool. Her Lilith is in Sagittarius, which will be important later when we talk some more. Mercury in Sagittarius.
Oh, wow.
Vesta in Sagittarius. Those three will be important. She has Juno there and Uranus as well. So a lot and Neptune. A lot in Sagittarius. That's most of her chart. So
okay.
I'm really excited to keep going through.
So the next little section, we're going to kind of get into the family dynamic, but we're also going to talk about her career. So they're kind of like it's a small blurb about her family before we get into like the deep cuts later. We've got a deep dive into her family members and kind of all the key players in this situation. But okay. So a little background, it's a little bit more childhood, but important to talk about how Brittney did not grow up in a privileged family. I think a lot of people have that misconception because she was a star so young that you usually, to get to that point, like it does take money, it does take time, it does take all these things, and usually families that aren't super wealthy can't do that. That's why a lot of celebrities, like young celebrities, already have money, and they already had a means to get to success. They were set up kind of in a better position.
Easier.
Yes, for that. But things were really tough because her dad, who we're going to talk a lot about later, Jamie Garbage Spears, was struggling with a lot of different things, addiction being one of them. And I have a big heart for anyone who struggles with addiction. I'm almost 10 years sober, so I get it. I don't give people passes for it, but it's at the same time, like, I get the struggle. Like, I don't give myself a pass for my past either.
It's very Virgo rising of you.
Yes, it is. But during this time, he was just a really unstable individual, not a reliable father. He had several failed businesses that he would like open and close. It was just kind of a mess. And he had like a catering business. He had like a fucking gym at one point. Like he just randoed his way around and had all these like different random businesses that he would open and like start a business. And then of course they would like fall to pieces. This was the man put in charge of her entire fucking estate, who had never had a successful business in his entire life. Like, anyway, so getting Brittney to all the auditions and filmings and all stuff, like I said, isn't cheap, but they really saw her potential. So this was like, they felt like it was a matter of time before, like they knew she was a star. They knew she had the it factor that we already talked about. Like she very much had it, enough so that her family was like willing to really invest in her.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So early music career, we'll go ahead and kind of skip forward a little bit. She's a preteen. In June of 1997, Brittney was in talks with manager Lou Pearlman, who's very famous if you've watched any of the documentaries about like the boy bands. That he wanted her to join a female pop group. So she was like initially recruited into a girl group because that was so popular at the time. Like everybody was a boy and girl group. And here's where Larry Rudolph, her longtime manager until earlier this year, he enters the picture. Lynn, Brittney's mom, talked to Larry, and he decided he wanted to pitch Brittney to some record labels and that she like needed to have a professional demo recorded. So she goes to do a demo, and fun fact, this is really cool. He sent Brittney an unused song of Toni Braxton.
That's so cool.
She rehearsed it for a week, and then she recorded her vocals in a studio. Then she traveled to New York. She brought the demo, met with executives, and then she went back to Kentwood the same day. So this is like a huge deal. A big
Very
deal
huge
to do
deal.
this. Yes. So it was pitched to 4 different labels. 3 of them said no. They said audiences only wanted boy bands. Again, it's like, you need a group, a solo artist. Like, they just didn't think that a lone female could be a star. And Brittney, of course, proved that all those fuckers were wrong.
Did.
Amazing. Like, it's so amazing. So now we're going to talk about all her achievements. And then we can look at her chart again. I could keep going after.
I'll interject or give me a moment to think.
Yeah, at any point if you want to interject with more chart things, because the next few things we're going to talk, this would probably fall pretty well into some things you already talked about. We'll talk about her achievements, and then we're going to talk about kind of like public perception and some public stuff that was going on.
All right.
Outside of 2007 situation. So she, after her stage productions, her television series that she did in Mickey Mouse Club, she signed with Jive Records in 1997 at the age of 15. Like, can you imagine being like
at 15?
At 15, I was like, I don't even know. I know what I was doing.
I was just waiting to be able to drive.
I already had so I had a hardship license, and I was a legal driver at 14. I could drive by myself at fucking 14 years old. I had my first car at 14. Insane. Who thought that was a good idea? It was a terrible idea. I was not trustworthy at all. So I was, that's good times. Those were some great times. I was the only person in junior high that could drive. Me and one other girl who was a friend of mine. Oh, and also
I wonder when Brittney got her license. Do you know?
I don't know.
You
I feel like
know.
It was later, though. If I had to guess, it was probably later because she's too busy being famous. At what point would she have had time, to live that normal life? Like, she really didn't.
Yeah.
I feel like she was older. We should look it up, but I really do feel like if I had to guess, I would say 18.
Let me see.
17 or 18.
Let me see if I can find it fast.
At what point would she have needed to drive herself? You know, and she would have had to been famous enough to get... I don't know. Maybe she did get it at 16. I really feel like it didn't happen, though, until later. I feel like she's too busy.
Man, maybe spelling the word license is always awful. An awful experience.
Yeah, we're looking it up. I need to know.
Britney Spears has received a California driver's license to comply with a court order.
Oh, no,
that's like later. That's since 2007. We need to go back further.
Anyway, well,
it's too much drama. I don't think I'll be able to find it.
Okay, so let's pretend she had her permit at 15. Like, she had her permit. Mm-hmm. And our Brittney in this narrative has her permit, but she didn't like make it official until much later. You know, like she was too busy. She didn't have time. She did get it taken care of. Anyway, her first 2 studio albums were super successful. Obviously, she released Baby One More Time in 1999, and then Oops, I Did It Again was just a year later in 2000. I actually didn't realize how close together these 2 albums were.
Wait, how close?
1999 and 2000. So, Baby One More Time, huge fucking deal. And then right after she comes out with
they weren't singles.
These are full-length albums. And they are some of the best-selling albums of all time.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Yeah, she was the best-selling teenage artist of all time at this point. Which is why they were like, we gotta crank out another. Like, they're like, get her in the studio. Put her in a red leather jumpsuit.
It'll be great.
America loves it. Sexy teens. Like, that was a whole thing. Like, craziness. And we'll get into some of the public stuff with her being so controversial here in a minute. So, yeah, the first week of sales, she sold over 1.3 million copies.
Ooh.
Oops, I Did It Again held the record for fastest selling album by any female artist in the United States for 15 years.
Wow.
She adopted a more mature and provocative style for her next albums, which Brittney, the self-titled album, came out in 2001. I fucking love that album. It is so good.
You're going to say that about every album that we talk about.
I will these are some of my favorites. In the Zone in 2003, not my favorite album, but it's a good one. Then she starred in the 2002 film Crossroads, which have you ever seen Crossroads?
I don't know. Probably not.
You would fucking know. Britney Spears is the star of the movie.
All right.
She's the leading.
I gotta make sure I go see it.
It's kind of hard to find. I'll have to I'm going to order it for myself on DVD as a present, as an early Christmas gift to myself. And then we are going to watch it. We're going to have a movie night. I actually bought Selena the other day. Because I wanted to.
There's like 3 or 4 movies.
And I have Party Monster. So we're going to have a Dark Alignment movie marathon.
I want to have a watch party.
Yes.
If anyone is interested, let us know.
We'll probably do that with Patreon, maybe. I don't know. Or whoever. Or anyone who's interested. How about that? It's like a book club.
Let us know.
Let us know if you want to join our watch party. So after that, she produced she was the executive producer of her 5th album, Blackout, which was released in 2007. It is hands down my favorite Britney album. It stays in the CD player. Yes, I have a CD player in my car. I still have a CD player. Mm-hmm. I think I had like the last year of a vehicle that still had CD players, and I feel so blessed. But yeah, I keep it in there because it's so good. I could listen to it forever. And it's like during that time that everybody was watching her and wanting her to fail, that she released what is, it's critically, like, every fan will probably say Blackout's their favorite album. If you ask any, like, super fan what album they love the most, it's just iconic.
So, timeline-wise, before we go past 2007.
Okay.
If we look back at, 1995 is when Pluto entered Sagittarius. And so this is what everybody's talking about, because right there it comes into Sagittarius and it hits Britney's Uranus and Juno first. And so all of a sudden, like, boom kind of thing, kind of energy. And then, but also commitment, because she's really committed to this, is what she's doing. She, having Pluto in her sign, it can make big transformations come through. It can be really intense. It can be really difficult, but the aspects that happen throughout this don't really get stressful until the end of Sagittarius. So once Pluto moves through Sagittarius and gets close to the end of it, then we start getting these squares to like Mars and issues with Neptune and issues with Jupiter, because Jupiter was also transiting at the end of Sagittarius at this time, which was 2007, 2008.
Holy shit!
And so we have all this happen, and Pluto and Jupiter are right at the end of Sagittarius at the end of 2007. And then we move into 2008. And we see Lilith come over and be part of this problem on her chart, which has to do with empowerment and disempowerment. And right at that same time, the end of 2008, Pluto moves into Capricorn, which I just wanted to fill you guys in, keep you updated as we go through these years.
Fantastic. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Which it's like...
That is awesome. Thank you for that. Mm-hmm. A few more of her achievements before we move into like public stuff. Mm-hmm. So this is a good spot to kind of shift gears. So because she was such a great dancer and her choreographed videos were like 10 out of 10, it earned her the Michael Jackson Video Vanguard Award, which is fancy. She had a bunch of other awards, including a Grammy. She has 15 Guinness World Records that she set, 6 VMAs, 7 Billboard Music Awards, including the Millennium Award.
So much achievement.
The inaugural Radio Disney Icon Award. Again, she's a fucking icon. And a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So our girl is it. She is everything. Now, next section. Mm-hmm. Not a girl, not yet a woman. Here we go.
It's a hard time.
A major component of the global obsession with Britney Spears was her sex appeal. You cannot deny that. The very first video she comes out,
I like
teenage girl in the little Catholic school uniform doing some dance moves in the hallway with the little pigtails. Oh my God, people lost their fucking minds. I lost my mind and I was in the 6th grade. I remember being like, this is everything. I need this tape right now. I think I bought a CD actually, but you know. I still had tapes at that time too. Like there was still a way to listen to them. So it was like really controversial. She was like showing her midriff all the time. She was wearing the super low rise pants that you have to like wax yourself to wear. The schoolgirl uniform I talked about, all of it. Then she did this super provocative cover of Rolling Stone that's completely iconic. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I will find it.
So it is her in her actual bedroom in her house in Kentwood. And it's so funny because she was only, I think, 17 or 16 at the time that she did this shoot. And she was worried, there it is. This one.
That's in her actual house?
Yes, that is in her bedroom on her bed. Yes.
That's amazing.
And the whole thing was her idea to make it kind of sexy. Mm-hmm. She's in this little pair of like boxer shorts.
But she's still covered. Like it shows less than a bikini.
Her boobs are definitely out. She is a teenager.
You get the little bit of like cleavage, but it's not that bad.
This is amazing. This made people flip their shit. It's incredible how upset people were over this. Because to do this, she actually shut the door to her bedroom and locked it so like nobody would like come in there and like tell her she couldn't do it. So she's very like ballsy and like, this is what I want to do.
I love it.
She's very strong-minded. She's like, this is my vision. She's also extremely creative. She has so much input in all of her things that she creates, everything. Mm-hmm. She does, like you said, the Virgo energy of like
Derek Barry doing.
Oh my God, Derek Barry is performing at my funeral. Oh, I love Derek Barry so much.
Okay, go ahead. Don't get distracted looking at Brittney.
I can't help myself. Okay, so that was iconic, but a huge deal. People were like paying attention to her. Basically, is the point. Yep, that's her. That's her bedroom.
I was looking. I think this is probably the same room.
But the whole world was paying attention. They were watching her every move at this point. Can you imagine being a teenager and the whole world watching every single thing you do? Like craziness. her image was cultivated as being like squeaky clean. There was lots of like virginity shit going on. They made a big deal about whether or not she was a virgin.
Oh, I saw some of those interviews. They're so gross. People asking.
Worthy.
Oh.
Are you still a virgin?
It makes me sick to watch.
Yeah, it's really disgusting.
Like, but have you? I feel so awful watching those.
It's really disturbing. You can see how uncomfortable she is. It's so fucking horrific to watch. So it's like this theme of virginity, but also this sexualized component. So I feel like when you were talking about all the opposition on her chart, that is directly
that's part of it, for sure.
Part of it is like, I'm squeaky clean, I'm a virgin, but also I'm sexy, and like... that's tough. That must be so hard to grow up feeling that way. But like, it's a lot of taboo shit. But she starts to come into her own a little bit more again by the time she released her self-titled album, and that was in 2001. So by 2001, she's becoming like a pretty realized version of herself. Good stuff. She still couldn't have a private life. So we're going to talk about some of her marriages. All of her marriages, really quick. We're going to briefly run through them. So we're going to skip ahead to January 2004. I don't know if we haven't really looked at anything in 2004. But this is when she married her childhood friend, Jason Alexander. She'd known him like her whole life. He's from the same town as her. He was visiting. They were hanging out in Vegas. They got a wild hair after partying that night. They went to the little wedding chapel and they fucking got hitched. And as soon as everybody found out about it, they lost their minds. Her management team freaked the fuck out. Everybody freaked out. The marriage was annulled after 55 hours.
I need to see the day. Yep. I need to see the day because I pulled, the sun was in Capricorn, obviously, in January. Yeah. But it was in Capricorn, which is her fourth house, which is where Venus is, and the South Node, and it's part of this whole thing on her chart.
We need the date on that.
I need to see what day. What was his name?
Jason Alexander, and this is in January of 2004. And also, I didn't realize how quickly afterwards that she got engaged to Kevin Federline. She got engaged to K-Fed in July of 2004.
Man, so this is like a...
oh, yeah.
What is that? Dawson's Creek looking dude. This is a Pacey kind of looking dude.
Oh, God. This is great.
Okay.
Look at their wedding date. 55 hours. Does it have the date? Because I feel like I would have put it in here, but I don't know if I...
Sometimes when you just pull up their Wikipedia page, it'll say all the marriages.
Oh,
it doesn't even list. Oh, it does. It just says 2004.
See, yeah.
Anyway, if you guys find it, let me know.
Yep.
But either way, it was hitting a major place on her chart during this time. Have to know that.
And then in July of 2004, I'm not sure if we can skip ahead a little bit. But that's when she got engaged to Kevin after knowing him for 3 months. So she met him literally right after this. Like, she met him in April. And she got a marriage annulled in January. So this was like a real year of relationships for her and like trying out marriage. They had a surprise wedding on September 18th of 2004. And they did a surprise wedding because their initial plans got leaked to the press. And the surprise wedding, like most people didn't know they were coming to a wedding. And Brittney wore this like short sleeved, like short little white, cute little dress. She was a brunette at the time, which I thought was fun. All of her bridesmaids had juicy velour tracksuits. So this is definitely a fucking moment in time. And the guys,
I think those are coming back. The tracksuits are coming back.
Oh God. The white suits that the guys had all said pimps. The girls had pink ones that said maids. But their legal marriage date was October 6th, 2004. They had some weird delays. So I was wondering if I put that on here because I thought maybe we could see that on the chart.
Yeah.
And everybody, as everybody knows, they end up having 2 kids together. Brittney was kind of taking a break from her career, enjoying some downtime, getting married, raising kids. That was always her dream. So that's what she's doing in this time period. And then the next piece we're going to discuss after this just fucking sucks. So if we want to see anything about this little timeline on her chart, now would be the time, because we're about to talk about like getting into the bullshit. Okay. Yeah, the conservatorship is born is the next section. Oh, so, God. Yeah, we're going to talk about anything lighthearted. This is where it should be.
All right, so looking at September, right? September. Well, first of all, when we look at July, when she met him, we do have the sun on her north node, which is, again, some stuff with the nodes with her and the marriages. But also, so I wonder what'll be happening when she...
What else is cool about this is she was on tour at the time. Like, Kevin joined her on tour.
Wow.
That's when they filmed, like, the chaotic stuff.
That's so cool.
All he had was, like, a trash bag of wife beaters. Like, he literally didn't even have, like, luggage. He was a backup dancer. Not her backup dancer. It was, I believe they met in a club, actually. Can you imagine, like, them seeing each other and, like, dancing and being like, we're both hot. Like,
we're both hot. We're amazing.
She needs somebody she can dance with. I feel like she can dance with Sam, but...
Well, she got married during her Mars return.
Okay.
Like, the, wedding day area of time. Mars was in Virgo, close to her Mars, and Jupiter was. So we see, like, expansion through that time of the year for her. Especially as the sun moves through there and into Libra, which is when her official date was. So we can see delays and things like that, like things being...
Oh, yeah.
Like 12th house kind of stuff. But still things are happening because Mars.
Because Mars.
Things are happening, but, like, not quite right. There's... Yeah, that Jupiter moving right next to her ascendant on the actual, like, legal date. So I feel like Jupiter is also part of this, where it, like, kind of, like, let her everything go through and the opportunity really happen. Let's see, there's the moon on her north node on that day, which I thought was fascinating. Again, like, these things with her nodes. She has a lot of strong patterns with her north and south node. Saturn was also over her north node at this time, and this was going on like the entire year. So having Saturn on her north node and her, like, going into these, like, structures for her her 10th house, which would be all of this would have been very public. Yeah. Saturn moving through this area would have made this whole couple years very public, like 2002 to 2005.
Yeah, that was definitely
extremely public, and it would have had to do with, like, the foundation for her life, the structure for her life, and getting into a marriage. This Cancer energy is underneath it. You got to remember too. So getting into a marriage, I think. And see, like, are we gonna see her in the role of, like, a mother now, and that kind of idea, like, kind of coming through. Let's see the. What was I gonna say? Might be gone. I might have forgot it.
Dang it.
Yeah. So. Oh, these are. Was I gonna say that? We didn't have their charts, right? So
nope, not yet. We're about to get into more of the surrounding people, so we can.
Okay. Right. Obviously, whatever my other thought was not good enough to.
It
happen.
might come back. It might come back through the next little segment. So
all right.
We are going to just move right along. Speaking of public stuff, following a series of highly publicized issues in her personal life that we will not go into detail about. You can find that on some of the really great podcasts and documentaries that I mentioned at the beginning. Brittney was involuntarily placed in a conservatorship.
If you are in Northwest Arkansas and looking for affordably priced photography and videography services, then you should definitely reach out to Nice NWA.
Yes, you should.
With photo sessions starting at $100, now is a great time to update your company's headshots, get graduation photos, new family pictures, and more. Looking for video work instead?
Yes, videos start at just $300 and are a great way to boost your marketing engagement online with current customers and potential new customers. It's also a great way to create highlight reels of your next event or just to tell your story in an exciting and creative way. Nice is not just locally owned and operated, but is also a certified minority and veteran-owned business that started right here in Northwest Arkansas in 2017.
So, go check them out on Facebook or on Instagram at NiceNWA or by visiting their website at nicenwa.com.
So, whenever you're placed under a conservatorship, you're basically no longer deemed to be able to be in charge of anything in your life, your personal affairs, anything like that. You're kind of stripped from all of that.
Because these conservatorships are designed to, like, the intention.
Yes.
If you're idealistic, is to.
The intention of a conservatorship, the type of person who would need a conservatorship and be a good candidate is somebody who has maybe had severe brain damage. And let's say you were in a car accident, have severe brain damage. You can no longer feed yourself. You can no longer take care of yourself.
You can't pay your own bills.
Significantly impaired in some way, either physically, cognitively, something like that, or have some sort of disability that makes you incapable of, being responsible in those ways. A conservatorship is basically setting up a trusted party to come in and handle those things. It's supposed to make the person's life better. What happened to Britney Spears absolutely did not do that. This is disgusting what happened, and it's very dark because it's so fucking calculated. I think that is the thing that makes this the most disgusting. So please refer again to both Britney's Graham and Toxic. These are two awesome podcasts to go down those rabbit holes a little bit further. If you want to hear all the ins and outs, you won't even believe it. Like, we could go on for fucking 5 hours and not cover half of it. So just refer to those. What I will say is that there were a large group of individuals involved in the setup of what was referred to in court documents as a strategic business model. Mm-hmm. In reality, this was an egregious infringement on a person's human rights. Britney was stripped of all of her rights. Like I said, she was conserved 2 ways, both financially and personally. So a little bit of explanation on those. If you're not sure what exactly this is, still, like, a conservatorship is confusing thing to explain. So here's the arrangement. Britney's not legally able to make any decisions regarding her personal life or her finances. So she's lost pretty much all of her personal freedoms. She's no longer allowed to drive under this conservatorship at this time. Mm-hmm. She was not able to spend time with unapproved guests or go into public without permission. All of her calls were monitored. All of her cell phone usage was monitored. All of her internet usage was monitored. She didn't have any agency over her life. She did not have the right to vote. She did not have the right to hire her own attorney or make any of her own medical or mental health decisions.
She's even mentioned there were cameras in her rooms. Like,
this is only a recently exposed. This is what's being investigated, so we don't know the extent of that. But that is what Matthew Rosenkart. We're going to talk about this later, but that is something that's being looked into. So that's just conservator of the person. That's 50% of the conservatorship, which sounds like way too much. But to make it worse financially, she was given a small weekly allowance for personal expenses. Her spending was so heavily monitored that she was denied basic items like Skechers,
shoes,
sushi. They told her she couldn't have sushi for dinner because it was too expensive, and things like trips to Starbucks. Like,
getting coffee, food, shoes, like basic
shit that a basic white girl needs. Skechers, she needs sushi, and she needs Starbucks.
And she's making her money. She should be able to get those things.
Fucking a girl that works at the mall can have those things. Why can't Britney Spears? Okay, she can now. She's on her way out of the country, celebrating her birthday. We can all rest easy.
This is gonna be a huge year for her.
But yes, it will be. But at the same time, so more than a dozen people were on her payroll. So she can't do anything, but she's being billed for the entire 13 years that she was under this conservatorship. Like, they were billing her for it. Full unnecessary staff of people in charge of every...
And their lawyers. And their all of their...
In charge of every aspect of her life. And she was paying them. Absolutely fucking disgusting. Because let's look at the circumstances. She has 2 babies back to back. She's in her early 20s. Her husband's having an affair. She's suffering from postpartum depression. She's constantly followed and hounded and criticized and like can't have anything. I can't fucking imagine how horrific that experience was.
Awful.
For anybody. That would be horrible for anybody. Can you imagine the whole world like following you? Like if the world had been following me like through my divorce, I probably would have like...
Oh, yeah, it would have been insane.
Yeah. I can't imagine people, like, being that invested in, like, my personal private life and, like, how invasive that was. So, we're going to talk about the next section, which I have called lack of consent. So, this goes back into more conservatorship and career stuff. And we will start moving into the role of some of her, the key players in the conservatorship. But since it started... this is why people didn't realize she was even in a conservatorship, because she was still a star. That overshined the entire thing because she was churning out hot shit. Like, she released Circus in December of 2008. Amazing. Fantastic album. Literally a few months after the 5150 hold and involuntarily committed into the, like, just a few months later.
Crazy.
She had been committed against her will in the whole thing, and that whole horrible like incident. Nobody is like, people thought it had been years in between for some reason. It had been a couple of months because they were like, oh, like she's having a comeback. Like, she didn't ever leave. She went on tour right away. So there was no time for her to work through everything she just went through. And the entire purpose of a conservatorship is to care for someone who is unable to care for themselves. And again, these people immediately made the worst possible decision for her health and mental health. They clearly do not have her best interest in mind. It's a fucking tragedy. And yeah, people just didn't know what was going on behind the scenes. They were like, yay, look, hey, she's blonde again.
She's back. Here she is.
Oh, look, she's really, really thin and chiseled again. And oh, she's doing hit songs. She's back. It's like nobody was paying attention to what was really
actually happening.
Yes. Gross. So she just keeps on touring. She never has a break. She continues to perform, record, rehearse, and then she releases Femme Fatale in 2011. Right after this, she was signed for a 4-year concert residency called Brittney Piece of Me at Planet Hollywood Resort and Casino in Las Vegas to promote her next 2 albums, Brittney Jean in 2013 and Glory in 2016. So this is an insane number of albums to produce under a conservatorship. It's against her will. She had no choice. And she produced...
Obviously, she's able to work.
3, 4, yeah, to produce 4 albums and then do a Vegas residency and be doing all
so
of
much
shit.
more than the average person not under anything would be.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So again, this is all against her will. People are just cleaning up from this. They are collecting a paycheck, and you just really, there's their family.
I'm looking through dates and things.
I know. I just look over through that picture and I was like, gross. So the legal battle in 2019 became a lot more publicized. So people really didn't know. I have been screaming about the conservatorship personally for over a decade, and people have always thought I was insane.
She's too obsessed or something.
Honestly, it was more like people would bring up Brittney, and I would just start going off on what we now call the Brittney sermon and explaining what was going on. And people would just regret asking me about it because they just thought that people would argue against me and be like, that can't happen. That's normally,
there's no way.
I never got it. She's too obsessed. I got it. You're making that up. And that can't happen because it's Britney Spears. And like, that can't happen to somebody. I was like, yes, it can. And it is. Like,
people were not tuned in like they are now.
Yes. So it's really crazy that like when it clicked for everybody else, I felt so like scene. It was just like it was a really validating moment for a lot of hardcore Britney fans, because it was like the world was not looking at us like we were crazy anymore. They were like, oh shit. Oh, this is worse than we ever could have imagined. But the reason it really broke is when Andrew Wallet, the former co-conservator, decided to step down. This led to the establishment of the Free Britney movement. When the fucking dope-ass podcast, Britney's Gram, released an audio recording from a former paralegal from the firm that had been part of the conservatorship since its inception. So I don't know, for those of you who have not heard this recording, absolutely insane. Britney's Gram was started by two really funny girls. I think they're comedians, actually. Yeah, but Tess and Babs, anybody in the Free Britney movement knows exactly who I'm talking about. They're so fun. They're so great. But they called Britney's Instagram the happiest place on the internet. And so they started just like talking about all her posts and like having a lighthearted, like good time of a podcast. That's how all of this started for them. And then they started like noticing they would have an episode and they'd be like, there's no update from Britney. And it was like 3 months and early from
there was a big section of time
to April where there were no posts from Britney on her Instagram. And then we finally, when they started making noise about it, we finally saw a post come up. And the caption was not Britney. If you follow her, you know
when it's not.
Emoji crazy. She does not do emoticons with the little semicolon, half a parenthesis. She uses like 50 emojis in all her posts. This post simply said, taking a little me time, and it had an emoticon smiley face. And it was like her team or somebody was trying to like throw people off the scent and be like, no, everything's fine here. But fans saw right through it.
And like, no, this is not right.
So what they were trying to do was cover it up. But what they did was draw more attention, because the fans were like, that is not our girl. Where the fuck is Britney? And then they made her record this, like, it almost felt like...
Oh, those were so...
The videos that she was like, hi guys, I'm fine. You could tell she was not fucking fine.
And answering all the random questions that no one asked. And like...
Oh, well, not those.
That's further on.
Those are just things that she has done. But this was when everybody was asking to see her. And it was right around Easter. So they let her out of what we now know. She was being held against her will in a mental health facility. But they had her post a video saying she was fine and not to worry about her.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was a whole thing that looked like a hostage being put in a corner, like, okay, let's tell we're going to send this to your family, like, like a kid, like a ransom sort of thing. That's what it felt like. It was really, she did not, everybody saw through it and they were like, this isn't right. So Tess and Babs were talking about this on the podcast. They also had like a phone line. Maybe we should do this, like where people can call in and leave voicemails, and then they would play the voicemails on the show at the end, like at the end credits. They would play people's voicemails and what they said, and it would be like, "Hey, love you guys, love the show." They did not expect to get what they got. They got a voicemail from, again, a former paralegal who worked at the firm right as Andrew Wallet steps down from the conservatorship, and this paralegal confirms that he was afraid that he was going to be disbarred, which is why for what was going on in the conservatorship, he told the girls they were on the right track. I have chills. But he told them, you're on the right track. Keep on digging into this. Like, keep going. Keep looking into this because you're on to something. You're right. It's worse than you could ever imagine. And he remained nameless, faceless, never identified himself. I've heard the voicemail. You can hear the voicemail on their podcast. It's amazing.
Ooh, I got chills in this now.
I have so many chills. So that is what kicked off the entire thing, because that was the validation that this movement needed to take off. Free Britney. What the fuck is happening? And that is how it all started. So,
man,
we're going to move into the key players in this, so that we'll talk about them, and then we're going to move into some of their charts. The first two people we want to talk about, again, original conservators. Andrew Wallet, who I just talked about, he was put as conservator of her estate and covered all the financial stuff. And then Brittany's father, Jamie Spears, he was appointed the conservatorship of the person. So he was given full control over his daughter, which is what is even like, if you go back and you watch For the Record and you watch the filming of Womanizer and the behind the scenes and how
I will go back
just and watch. Making fun of her dad so hard. It's really funny now, like looking back, knowing like she was totally pissed and like rebelling and being like mouthy and doing impressions. It was so good. Like it's so classic. I love when Brittney is silly and lets us see like her real personality.
Me too. I like getting to see anyone like all this like famous people like see their personality shine through.
Yeah, it's good. There's parts of it that make me sad to watch it back because you see her dad like trying to take her phone from her and stuff, and she's like, no.
Oh yeah, that was really hard.
So you see insight into this dynamic a lot there. So again, poor Brittney literally gets out of psychiatric hold situation, finds out she's lost all her rights. She's lost majority, can't talk, of the custody of her children to K-Fed. Like, how fucking terrible is that? Because of this conservatorship, like, she loses
not fair.
The thing that matters.
Of course.
The thing that matters the most to her. And her children were used as weapons bartering tools against her. As rewards, as punishment throughout.
Like you'll get to see them, you won't get to see them if you do X, Y, whatever.
We'll reward you. You can see your children, or we're going to punish you. We're going to deprive you of your children. And I can't imagine. I'm not a mother, but I can't fucking imagine how horrible that is. And then eventually they started doing it with her pets too.
And to not even have custody or a say is hard enough. And then to do this and with the pets too. Yeah, like let me have something.
Yep, it's really terrible. So. She's lost all of this, and exactly 1 month after the conservatorship was put into place, this is just a fun fact, she ended up doing a guest appearance on How I Met Your Mother. And she nailed it. She was so cute in that episode.
She doesn't half-ass anything. She does everything.
She is a professional.
Yeah.
She is fucking wonderful. But it's just like really jarring that people don't realize how short of a time frame that was. Like before they had her working and rehearsing. Immediately they have her doing jobs that they can profit off of. So gross. So yeah, again on Andrew Wallet, he left the conservatorship before all the shit went down. He wanted to again avoid any sort of legal problems that he knew. He saw that he was on a sinking ship and that people were onto them. So,
and he bailed.
Yeah, he bailed. That was probably smart on his part.
And when was this?
This was in 2019.
Okay.
So he bailed in April of 2019, I believe.
Okay.
Right around when everybody was noticing she wasn't on Instagram and she had been put in that involuntary hold.
So just to check in with the charts, Pluto and Saturn are moving through Capricorn. And 2019, pretty much she has like nothing really in Capricorn until the 23rd degree. And so this whole section of time, like people don't really even know that this is happening. And there aren't any other things on her chart right at those spots. I think that's oddly significant. Also, I mean, they'll be making other aspects, but we start to hear about everything going on when Pluto comes over to her south node and Venus placement, her two big things in Capricorn, and in her fourth house. We don't hear about, I mean, it doesn't get to be big news until
it had been in place for fucking 11 years.
And this is
before anybody even realized it was happening.
This is when you start to see like early, like in March 2019, where Pluto is coming over. It's at 22 degrees and Saturn is at 18 degrees. It's like right there with it. And this is, remember, this is all leading up to that great conjunction that we had like last year. So there's this big shift going on when Saturn and Jupiter and Pluto were all at the like finishing that second half of Capricorn and moving into Aquarius. Like everyone had major transitions in their life, and Brittney's not excluded from that. So just keep that in mind. Right now we're at 2019 with Pluto on her south node and Venus.
Okay. So we're here. We're going to go ahead and move into family drama right now. So we're going to talk about her mother, Lynn. We're going to talk more about her father, Jamie. We are going to talk about Jamie's past and kind of Jamie's
I have the chart. Got the chart.
Yes. So, here we go. So, family drama. Brittney has recently stated very publicly on her Instagram that she believes her father, Jamie, was not smart enough to come up with the idea to place her under conservatorship on his own. And she has said that she believes her mother, Lynn Spears, put the idea into his mind and that Jamie executed it and made it happen. So, Jamie and Lynn have a very complicated relationship. They are divorced. They've been divorced for a long time, and they had a pretty tumultuous on again, off again. So they have been like together on and off before and after the divorce. So it's always been like you can feel like he just has this level of control that makes people stay quiet. And you see that with interviews of people in town. Nobody will talk about Jamie. Nobody. If you go to that town and you ask people, they won't say a fucking word. It's like everybody's scared to talk about what will happen even if you talk good about him. That was what I
remember you saying.
Yeah, even if you say positive things, it doesn't matter. You don't talk about him. Like, it's crazy. But some of his family members have been talking, and we're going to get that's what gives us insight into how he grew up and kind of what his world was like and what helped shaped him into, the person he is today. Okay. Siblings recently came forward with some really intense statements about their upbringing that shed a lot more light on this, like,
and we're on James still, right? Yeah. Before, I want to make sure I can talk before we move on. Okay.
Yes, his legal name is James. He does go by Jamie. Trigger warning, the article, it has some allegations of sexual abuse going on in the family and some other very dark themes happening. It was an abusive type of household. So there's a full disclosure of this in that New York Post article that I mentioned at the very beginning. But the relevant piece of this that I thought was so fascinating is the way that Jamie's father, Brittney's paternal grandfather, treated his wife, Emma Jean Spears, who Brittney was named after. And they look a lot alike, too, like young pictures of her. So Emma Jean allegedly died by suicide at the age of 31. The circumstances around her death are intense, so trigger warning. This is really rough, but it's super important to talk about. So she was found dead of a shotgun wound while laying on the grave of her deceased infant son. And this was in May of 1966. So both John Mark, which is Jamie's half-brother, and his half-sister Leanne said that they doubt that Imogen actually committed suicide. They don't believe that. The death got a lot of attention for a suicide. That's kind of like not very common. Usually you don't see this as front page news. But there was a story on the front page of the local paper in Kentwood with a lot of details about the death. Usually with a suicide, you don't have that because nobody else was there. But according to the story in the paper, the shotgun had been pressed against her chest, and she apparently pulled the trigger with her right toe, and her shoe had been removed. The report also said that Imogen splayed, this is a direct quote, splayed out her left leg across the grave before checking that the shotgun was ready and loaded with a single shell. Like, how would anyone know this? That she was doing all these checks and balances. Like,
this is so weird.
So John Mark and Leanne have questioned this their entire life. Like, no one could know what really happened. But Jamie's dad, his name was June.
Obviously has the whole story.
His name was June, which is weird for him.
I like the name June, but not like in this situation.
So June, his dad, told the coroner that his wife, Imogen, had tried to commit suicide several times before, though. That she was depressed over the death of her son.
This was.
And the baby died when he was only 3 days old. And that's very sad.
That's horrible.
But I don't think that's... I just don't buy his story of like, oh, well, ever since this postpartum situation, now she can't... You see the pattern. You see the similarities of making her mental health a big focal point, saying, oh, she's a danger to herself, so this happened. So you see this like very dark way that women are treated.
Awful in this family.
Yeah, so we have some direct quotes from Jamie's siblings about this. Mm-hmm. No one knows what happened. No one was there. Jamie's half-sister Leanne was quoted as saying, "But you can bet my daddy pulled the trigger one way or the other, even if he wasn't there." So all the adult children in this family have been willing to talk.
And they're all pointing fingers at Dad.
The ones that have had the guts to come forward, which not all of them, I didn't mean to phrase it that way. They said that June was very abusive to Imogene. He institutionalized his second wife. And guess what? He put her on lithium. It's exactly what Jamie did to Brittney decades later.
Oh my God.
So this was modeled behavior. It's not excusing behavior. It's just showing there is a pattern and that this is how you handle females. Mm-hmm. This is how you handle emotional people. This is how you handle femininity. Like you deal with it like this.
Wow.
So John Mark, again, Jamie's half-brother, he corroborates Leanne's story. He says that their dad basically was a huge piece of shit. He was super abusive. He had 10 children with his 3 different wives. So really probably fucked up a lot of kids in that way, just like demonstrating this really abusive kind of bullshit. So he also went on the record to say, John Mark did, he went on the record to say that the Spearsmen are something awful. They've gotten away with so much, especially to their women, for years. So I'm not surprised about what Jamie's done to Brittney. It's all about control with the Spearsmen, which is just fucking chilling.
It is.
And then June, this asshole grandpa that we're talking about, he died in 2012, but he obviously caused a fuck ton of damage. So we want to go ahead and probably... The next section is girl-on-girl crime. We'll be talking about mom-daughter situations a little bit. Lynn, I feel like we can do a passing look at her chart because she's just so passive in general that I feel like...
Yeah. So
we'll talk about Jamie Lynn.
So when we look at Britney Spears' chart, we often look at Saturn and the Sun to look at how they relate to their fathers. And she does have, obviously, the Sun in Sagittarius. James has his in Cancer. But when we look, what's really fascinating to me is when we look at their Saturn placements, they both have Saturn in Libra conjunct and in their first house. So this is, well, actually we don't know about his houses because I don't have time for him. I just pulled his noon chart. But having them both in Libra is just, I have a similar thing with the men in my family, where I have the same Saturn placement as my dad, and he has the same Saturn placement as his grandpa. I don't have June's chart, but we have the same, like the oldest, or not the oldest, but the...
Like that generational pattern of this.
Yeah, we have, and
that's really cool.
It is really cool. So I always felt like I related to like the masculine side like that. So
now that makes me curious about like my grandfather, because that's the person that I like.
Pull your family's charts. It's worth it.
Yeah, I totally want to pull. That's on my list of things.
It is, and in James's chart, he also has Neptune in Libra, which would be. I'm like flipping back and forth. I didn't hear them.
Every time you say James, I can't figure out. I'm like,
Jamie.
My brain goes, what?
Brain goes, what?
It's so funny. I didn't realize it was that hardwired into me until it's so funny.
He has Neptune right where Brittney has her Saturn and Pluto, which again, we have like all of these themes of like a veil and deception and like unclear boundaries, illusions, delusions, things like that, all related to this control part of Brittney's chart and like her identity part of the chart and her able to her like structure for life, all of this in the same spot on the chart really shows a lot. And this would be sextile connecting over to her natal Neptune as well. So it's all it's all connected. There's major squares to the nodes in this placement on the chart. So we see how much personal, controlling, detrimental effect the father can have, like, energetically on these charts. And this idea of it all being, like, balances and legal issues, which is also shown by Libra. We have, like, so many of these Libra themes coming through. Brittney has Palace as the first thing on her chart, which shows, like, big decisions and difficult situations and how you deal with them, and, like, the deep wisdom that comes through. She's got a lot of all of this going on. It's just so much. Like, I'm kind of at a loss for words for how to explain all of it.
Wow.
Which is how it usually is with these charts, honestly. This is overwhelming. This is of course it was, though. They did so much in their lives on our podcast. So James's chart, looking at it, it is a lot more spread out than Brittney's, where Brittney's got a lot of these, like,
very
hot spots.
Concentrated, yeah.
Brittney's got hot spots, and he's got things kind of all over the place. So he has the sun in Cancer, and his moon is in Capricorn, which again and his Chiron, which again we can see connects with Brittney's 4th house Capricorn issues. And in Cancer, connecting on the other side, opposing all of that, is his sun and Venus and Uranus. So their Venuses are opposite, so they've got very different values. He has a lot more, like,
it's so interesting.
Stress.
This is Cancer to me. I don't know. I would not have guessed that if I had to guess.
Think about, like, the Capricorn moon with it, though.
Yeah, it does. It does feel more right when you say that Chiron there too. Like, yeah,
I'm sure a lot of people will be thinking the same thing. So.
I just really, when you said Cancer, my brain had to pause for a second. Like, I'm sorry, what? I just didn't fucking.
And all of his sun placement and moon are in, like, major houses on her chart, the IC and the MC. So her midheaven, his like sun placement is in her midheaven. So it kind of shows how when she's, like, well known, like, so is he. It's like it's all part of the same story, like, to the public.
He's now special too.
But he's not liked like that. Like,
no, everybody hates his ass.
And we can see that with how many squares he has to these positions on the chart. He has a very stressed chart here. We've got Palace square Moon conjunct Chiron, square Saturn, and Vesta square the Sun, Venus, and Uranus. So he has a lot of, there's a couple degrees off, but it's almost like Grand Cross. Some of these, it kind of just depends on how you want to do the degrees. But he's got, like, this Grand Cross, Grand Square situation coming on, and he, even just having the moon and the sun opposite, he was born on full moon. Even just having those opposite is such an intense energy. He's going to be a very intense person, very stressed, conflicted person. He finds emotional support, it looks like, through Mars, which is in the 2nd house in Scorpio. So we see him trying to use action, taking action and being forceful, being kind of, like, more aggressive, more assertive, maybe even more sexual.
Ew.
Yeah, I don't know that side of him.
I don't want to think of him as a sexual being.
He's using this to kind of cope with all these conflicting feelings, and deal with things. So I think that was also modeled for him. But having it in this kind of unseen, hidden, like, Scorpio, we're kind of fly under the radar type of thing. Like, I'm gonna be try to keep myself in the background, controlling, pulling the puppet strings. Very Scorpio.
Puppet master is immediately what came to mind, and then you said puppet strings.
Oh,
like,
cool.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah, he Scorpio. The Scorpio energy is gonna feel better if they can find some control in a situation. Similar with Capricorn, the moon sign. So he's going to want to build something out of it. He wants to build this big empire.
His strategic business model. He's conflicted with family,
with his
business
model, with his values. But So he's going to be taking really strong action which is sextile his moon and Chiron placement to kind of cope with all of these stressors on his chart, and it's going to be kind of sneaky Scorpio type of way, and it's in the second house, so it's going to have to do, well, actually, I keep saying houses, but we don't actually know what time he was born. But I could see it being like second house or maybe 8th house, 7th house, something like that. Those would be my guesses, or maybe even 10th. But
I like your guesses. I feel like
I wish I had it. I'm sorry. It's a habit.
I enjoy your speculation a lot because I always feel like you're so intuitive and you're like that you just say it because that's where you're pulled. And so even if we don't have actual confirmation, I'm still like, absolutely.
Like, she's going to be right.
Because you're flowing and you're just feeling it out. Like you're not.
Yes.
That's what came to you first. That's probably where it is. Like I would bet on it because I firmly believe that you are super accurate in your readings.
It just feels right. And like the Noon chart has his ascendant in Virgo, like at the very end of Virgo. And I feel like that feels good. But
I'm a Virgo rising, and it
could be other places.
Like I feel like I get it does make you need a lot of control
for a water sign. Yeah, having Virgo as your ascendant. Oh my god,
it really is intense. It really does make you like. If I don't have like a structured kind of control of something, if that is removed in any way, I feel so unsafe and unsettled. So it does make me want to like monitor things very, very closely, like all the details, and it is kind of like a behind the scenes, like controlling stuff behind the scenes. But mine is like my own life. He seems to want to control other people's, and his own life seems to be a shit show. So I don't know. Like he clearly can't keep a business.
But if you had a whole family, maybe you would. Maybe if you had.
Yeah, because Virgo would want that. Virgo would want to take care of all the people. Oh, gross. I can't have a family is what we're saying.
I'm trying to think of like how you've been with like kids I've seen you around, you know?
Oh, I'm very, very strict.
I feel like you do kind of...
I'm all about... I'm enforcing a routine.
You want to enforce a routine.
Enforcing a routine is a little bit of
control, a little structure, little caring structure.
Boundaries. We're going to have a solid routine. Everyone's going to know exactly what to expect.
This is the way things should be done.
That is...
You're not wrong. They should, but yeah.
Oh, no.
Anyway,
that's a fun. Okay,
he does have Vesta in Virgo, so even if his ascendant is not there, it is still like what his soul feels really connected and devoted to.
I really feel like his rising is there based off of that conversation. This is all the evidence I need.
Also, his North Node and Juno and Pholus are in Aquarius, putting his South Node in Leo with his Pluto and Lilith and Mercury. So we do see kind of like some intense pulls back and forth between that axis with Aquarius and Leo, which is a hard one. I think all of them are hard though.
That one does feel hard.
That one's especially hard. Some I think are less difficult than others, but that's a difficult axis. Where your past is more kind of like dramatic and all of that, and then it's more about like expression, and he's got like Mercury there how he thinks in this kind of Leo way. He's got this Lilith placement right there where that's how he feels empowered by expressing, like being able to kind of do and like run the show, do what he wants. And remember he's doing the puppet master thing. So there's Pluto here, which makes it more like controlling and more scorpionic. It's like a callback to the Scorpio placement. And then moving forward in your life, you're looking in a little bit more airy, colder, grand perspective on things. Yeah. Where it's not like I'm the show. It's more like I'm going to see the entire show. Like I'm going to observe. I'm going to analyze the entire show. I'm going to understand. It's like.
It is like a detached feeling, and that is how he shows up in like her career of like, like he wants it to seem like he's hands off, but he's actually like fully managing everything. But he's just like, he's like he's allocated responsibility to other people to be more hands-off.
He's created this whole innovative structure for her life in a way. Like, this is very Aquarian. Also, when people talk about the Aquarian age in a fearful way, and like on the negative side of the Aquarian age, they talk about things being too depersonalized, too detached, too like strange and cold-hearted, like everyone having barcodes and everyone having like technology kind of integrated, everybody being kind of this big hive mind, and we're going to sacrifice all of these like personal things for this collective, and how it could be really scary in a way, like and we see him kind of on that side of the Aquarian energy currently. And you know, for Brittany's career times,
he like really appointed all these people to handle all the little things, where he's still like puppet master, but he's not directly pulling her strings. He's got other people. He's pulling the strings of the people pulling the strings.
Right.
He's like two layers
He's out of the show.
God, it's fucking crazy. He
is now full puppet master. This is the later part of his life. This is where he's leaned into the North Node more and more and more, you know. He's had a lot of years to lean into that Aquarian North Node. So he's very committed to it as well, like with Juno there. I see this as most definitely reflected as marriage in some kind of way. And then Pholus makes all of it kind of extra. There is a square from his North Node placement to Ceres, which is going to make difficulties the more he leans into his life path with the Aquarian energy. Like, it can cause a lot of issues, especially at a low frequency with his foundation for love and like people he cares about, like, you know, family and things like that. There's a trine to Neptune, so it's a harmonious aspect to creating this illusionary world for Brittney.
God, I hate it.
I can just go on and on, but I think that that's a pretty interesting like summary of that chart.
Okay, are we ready to move on to the next section, which is definitely going to be about the ladies in Brittany's life that have been a part of this entire thing one way or another.
I think, I want to say one more thing then.
Okay, yes, say it.
So back on Brittany's chart, when we look at that Neptune area in Libra where the dad's Neptune is, and she has this Libra Stellium going on, we do see all of those placements making huge squares to her North and South Node. I just want to reiterate that. And so we see this as like a major life challenge for her. This is like when if you were going to write a novel and there was like an overarching storyline, like a conflict, and then the what's it called? The climax.
We do this every time.
I know I do. And then there's a resolution. It goes back down. This is all part of that for her. This is like a major life path
climactic event. Very, very significant.
Go ahead.
Okay.
It's all related to this.
We talked a little bit about Lynn, and until very recently, no one was really certain about where Brittany stood with her mom and her sister. Like, it was always kind of like, what's really going on? We don't really know how close they are or how close they've been or what's been going on behind the scenes of everything. But Lynn has always seemed supportive of Brittany. She even filed her own petitions to help Brittany during the battle against the conservatorship. Like, Lynn hired her own attorney.
I saw she went with her mother to some things.
But however, I mentioned this earlier, but Brittany suspects that her mom was in on the conservatorship from the start and actually came up with the idea. Also, Lynn wrote a book that she made a lot of money on about their family called Through the Storm. So she wrote it like after all this time. She talked a lot about her relationship with Jamie and a lot about what it was like to be a mom of Brittany and all the stuff. Like, she really, you know, and I don't really think that was the biggest deal ever, but it is important to consider in this relationship of like, how close are they? It seems like nobody was really, like, Brittany was kind of left high and dry on her own island. Everybody in her family kind of like was very hands-off.
No one helped her. No one talked about it. Nobody. But I think like looking at the chart and looking at everything, like I feel like the mom was definitely involved with it more than she says.
And she did.
Absolutely.
She did publicly and legally, with her own money, work to fight against it towards the end.
When she realized.
When it was already like everybody knew about it. When Lynn finally, when Brittney couldn't hire her
Which I'm glad for.
Yeah.
I'm happy about. But looking at the chart, she's got the moon and Neptune in Libra right in that spot, in that deception spot I was talking about. And those are all square her Ceres right at the 24th degree of Capricorn. Oh, have we talked about that area of Capricorn? I feel like we have a lot.
Yeah.
So there's a major square going on, and already I'm just
oh my god,
not buying it.
I actually predicted Lynn's sun sign, never looked it up. She's absolutely a Taurus.
Yeah,
I knew she was a Taurus in my heart.
You know a Taurus when you see one.
If there's anything that can be said about me is that I can suss out a Taurus and try to date it very quickly. I love Taurus.
I want her to just have an arsenal of Tauruses at her disposal forever.
I just love Taurus energy. I love it and always love. I love friends that are Taurus. I love that energy. I don't know. It works well for me. I like it a lot. Anyway. So that's a good little rundown on Lynn. And speaking of books, this is a great segue into Jamie Lynn. This is hilarious and fucking incredible. So the Spears sisters have always seemed pretty close and supportive of each other despite the age gap, at least on social media.
But like distant.
So, yeah, mentioned how Lynn wrote a book about their family through the storm, whole thing, released it, made money off of it. So that was kind of like a thing I always wondered how Brittney felt about that. I'm still not really sure how she felt about that because it was like so far in the past. I think she's focused more on like current and what's going on there. So, yeah. Enough about Lynn. We are going to make this nice segue into Brittney's younger sister, Jamie Lynn Spears. So, yeah, they've always been like seemingly close. We are not really sure. But a few months ago, Brittney opened up on Instagram about how she felt betrayed by her younger sister. And it has been an all-out sister war on social media since then, which has been, I have to say, very fun to watch. I'm an only child and I'm fascinated with sibling relationships in general. We talk
about sibling stuff.
Yeah, we actually did a Patreon episode with your sister, and you guys looked at your charts together, and she was with us and joined us for a salsa party, and it was a lot of fun. So shout out to Elizabeth. That was a good time. But it was cool to like look at the dynamics of sisters. So we definitely want to look at Brittney and Jamie Lynn because this is such a current issue that's going on, and it's like now we're starting to get the veil is kind of being lifted in how far back this goes because Jamie Lynn's always been like pretty supportive and like likes all of Brittney's posts and likes all of the stuff and always is like, you know, she used to post about Brittney sometimes, so it was like, you know, and yeah, Jamie Lynn, for those of you who don't know,
is a weird thing.
She was a child star on Nickelodeon. She was the star of a show called Zoe 101.
I remember that.
So we'll talk a little bit about that. But she also recently published a book. So just like her mom.
I'm not happy with the book.
And Brittney openly made fun of this on her social media. It was fucking hilarious. She's been very vocal about how irritated she is with Jamie Lynn covering her songs and performing them at an award show, which I immediately had to go watch this award show.
I watched and saw her reaction.
Oh my God. It was ridiculous. So YouTube that if you have not watched Brittney's reaction to Jamie Lynn it was like a medley with several other little pop stars at the time. And
Jamie Lynn looks so proud of herself to perform these songs. Like, are you kidding me?
She sang Till the World Ends, which is funny that is the song that played the moment they announced that Brittney's conservatorship ended. I watched it live, of course. I took the day off work and spent my time watching the YouTube like live footage outside of the courthouse to the moment that it was announced that she was free. Till the World Ends started playing and everybody had a dance party in the streets. So it was amazing.
And Jamie covered those songs when Brittney was refusing to work, right? Or was that
no? Jamie Lynn did this like this whole thing. So Brittney never like really got to refuse to work.
Well, like after she like walked off on that thing, she was like,
the Domination Tour. I didn't actually talk about this at all, but it's important to bring up because there's so much to talk about, but this was a specific moment where right before Brittney was involuntarily committed against her will in 2019. What sparked all of that situation and her being put on lithium and like all this crazy shit that led to the Free Britney movement. She went on Ellen to make an announcement that she had an announcement. So she made an announcement that she was going to have an announcement. And then a few weeks later, she has this event that is the big announcement. And it's with Mario Lopez, which is just great. That's AC Slater from Saved by the Bell. For those of you who don't know who Mario Lopez is, which is like insane to me. But also I realize we have a wide age range of viewers and listeners. So Mario Lopez goes on there with Brittney, which is just super iconic because she loved him growing up. So it was just fun that that's who she chose. But the whole thing was the announcement of another Vegas residency, the Domination Tour. And Brittney does a thing where they do the announcement and she literally like walks on stage, walks down some steps and leaves. Like she does not stop. You can tell she's
no performance.
And also, I feel like it was her only way to like control the situation because they couldn't do anything to her publicly, but they sure as fuck punished her for that after the fact with, okay, you don't want to do this tour? Well, here's what you can do. You can go have some me time, according to the Instagram post, and they, so yeah,
that's you disappear and you'll.
That's an important little segment to talk about. So I believe that this award show was before any of that happened. Okay. This was because Brittney was there. It was a little medley with the other pop songs. They each took a little segment. They were dressed like Brittney. It was a tribute to her. They all did a little section. And the final song was Till the World Ends, where Jamie Lynn performs it. And she's like, and she's like looking at Brittney in the audience. And Brittney's like, like it's a really awkward moment. It's so amazing to go back and see it. But when Jamie Lynn makes the post about her book coming out and she says the title of it and all this and like Brittney immediately starts mocking it on her, it's so incredible. It makes me very happy to see.
Like, oh, it must be so difficult to be.
But as if like whenever we were wondering about that relationship, it all made sense. And we no longer had questions, that there was a lot of tension there. And so back to Jamie Lynn and kind of what happened to her. So like I said, she was star of a Nickelodeon show until she was about 15 years old. And they had to end the show because Jamie Lynn became pregnant. So now we're going to have another key player, another female come in. This female ended up being a very big part of the conservatorship. Big part of Jamie Lynn's life and career, and she is very much a part, like she's an influencer of the Spears family, including Jamie. So she's like kind of enmeshed herself and weaved herself into this equation. So we're going to talk about Lou Taylor. She's very involved in all their lives. It's wild. So Lou's been an industry manager of both of the Spears sisters at different points in time. She's very religious, very faith-based person. She's very close friends with Jamie as well. They actually used to do like Bible studies and a bunch of stuff like that together. So it's their relationship is a little interesting. It can't quite pick up like, is there like romantic feeling or like what's going on? Like something feels like it's a little like almost, I don't want to say inappropriate because they're two adults if they consent to something. It just feels strange. So she definitely intervened in Jamie Lynn's pregnancy because she was managing Jamie Lynn at the time that she was on Zoe 101. This whole thing happened. It was a big controversy. But Lou Taylor wanted the family to ship her off to like a home for unwed mothers. So that's kind of like the level of, it's gross, but she's like trying to like put her, this is what I think is the best solution, how we're going to handle this. Luckily they did not do that to young JL, as she refers to herself as young JL a lot when she's talking about her former past self. It's just like a really interesting energy, and she's been a big part of this whole conservatorship thing. A lot of like religious-based punishments too around like the conservatorship and kind of those views, weaving that into kind of justifying things. It's a whole weird dynamic. It's very, very weird. And as far as I know, she still manages Jamie Lynn currently. as far as I can tell. So interesting. So
very interesting.
We can take a minute to look at their charts because the next two things we're going to go over, we're going to look at future predictions about accountability, and then we're going to talk about Sam Asghari, Brittany's fiance, and we'll look at future like stuff like that for her.
So with Lou Taylor, her chart, she's October 30th, 1965. Don't have a time.
Okay.
There's the Sun in Scorpio, so we do get, and Neptune and Mercury, so we do have some of that Scorpionic tendency to want to have like some control over a situation or kind of be behind the scenes a little bit more. But also there's a lot of things with the rest of her chart that, you know, I might not say those things otherwise, but to be quick about it, she does have this strong some strong placements in Sagittarius. There is Venus, Mars, and the South Node. So we have her values and what she takes action on in the same spot in this like spiritual, religious area of Sagittarius on the chart. And it is the South Node, so it's something that it's like she's clinging to the past, like older values. It makes a lot of sense with Venus and the values and the action and what she cares about, and really taking things really far with Sagittarius, how they can, and how it's kind of like, well, sometimes they'll take things further than other times, and so it's very, but she's a little bit more rigid, because she has this Capricorn moon. And remember that Scorpio is a fixed sign, so when they feel like strongly about something, it is going to be
it's firm.
It's a firm thing. And Neptune in Scorpio with the sun and Mercury, we see like more of this idea of like spirituality and what lies past this life type of energy, type of thinking. There's a really interesting conjunction on her chart in Pisces with Saturn retrograde, Chiron retrograde, and Ceres retrograde. Also part of fortune. But I mean, depending on, I might need to double check that. But those three first ones, Saturn, Chiron, and Ceres all in retrograde in Pisces, it's this Saturn retrograde in Pisces is one of like these placements that I really feel for. Because my Saturn is in Aquarius, and so the people after, like a little younger than me, a lot of them have this placement on their chart.
Oh, right.
And so when I talk to people about astrology, sometimes it's them, like a lot of them it's them. And Saturn in Pisces has a hard time already because you're putting this planet of rigidity and structure and rules in a sign of like boundless ocean and creativity and different worlds. Like there's like infinite universes and we're existing on all of that. Like it's like, oh my God. Like Saturn has a hard time dealing with that. And then when it's in retrograde, it's like it'll get a little bit of footing and then it'll like totally lose all footing and then get a little bit of footing and totally. So it's really difficult. It can take people a lot longer with this placement to find like a structure for their life, a foundation that works for them.
Yeah.
So having this and Chiron, there's some trauma involved and healing and all of that. And then Ceres, which also involves lose foundation for love as well. And all of this is, well, Chiron and Ceres are square to that Venus-Mars placement in Sagittarius, with her values and how she acts on things. And so there's just a lot of like trauma stress involved as well. And not really knowing what the structure for society really is and what her life structure really is. So I think it's like this clinging thing to what rules are like laid out, even though they're old and like aren't really
the word
like,
archaic
aren't really fully analyzed and archaic.
Archaic is the word I immediately got. Like they're obsolete, archaic, like old.
Yeah, it's not all bad, but it's like there's something off Like there's something off on this chart when you look at it with that in relation to this. Is she, with that moon placement being right at the, it's kind of like a little bit late mid Capricorn, where we've been talking about all these other things going on. I'm wondering if we'll end up seeing more about her as time goes on, because she's got a lot going on in a lot of asteroids and Lilith in Aquarius, which is where Saturn is moving through right now, and Jupiter is like finishing up. So I kind of wonder. Also the timing of when we did find out more about this stuff about Lou Taylor. I'm wondering if it lined up when Saturn kind of moved through there. But I want to look at it related to Jamie Lynn.
Yeah, we haven't looked at Jamie Lynn yet. I only know that she's an Aries. I do know that about her.
Of course.
Because they're two sisters that are fire signs.
My sister is an Aries.
Yeah, my mom's an Aries. My mom is an Aries sun, Sagittarius moon, Sagittarius rising. So I'm used to being around a ton of fire energy.
Oh, well, you will understand this chart because she has a Sagittarius moon.
No way!
And Lilith and Sagittarius, not far from it. It's like a 10-degree conjunction, almost.
Okay.
But
I'm familiar with that energy a lot, and it does make sense to me. Yeah, in this context.
Yes. And I didn't have a time for Jamie Lynn either. I looked, it's hard, didn't see it.
Dang it. I'm shocked that there's not a time for her.
Me too. I thought I would be able to find one for her.
That seems easy. I bet Lynn wrote about it in Through the Storm. I bet she put all the birth times of her children in there. It's actually really difficult to get a copy of that now. I don't believe you can buy it anywhere online. You have to know somebody who's got like a paper copy who will sell that bitch to you. So if you have a copy of Through the Storm that you are trying to sell, name your price. DM me and name your fucking price.
Ready to buy it.
I will, This is how I get scammed.
Oh no, I didn't even think of that.
I'm hyper aware of these things.
All right.
Yeah. Anyway.
Jamie Lynn's chart.
Which that's the name of both her parents.
I know, that's why I gotta be like very specific, which is so irritating.
Just call her JL.
So irritating.
She loves being JL.
I don't want to do what she wants.
Okay. I think it's easier. I call her JL a lot when I refer to her.
I don't know. I just, as like an older sister that understands irritation, I just don't want to.
Then let's call her the less talented Spears sister.
No. Jamie Lynn Spears.
I call Evelyn of my two dogs. I'm like, you're the Jamie Lynn of this family. You are the less talented of the sisters because Barley's a star. And I'm like, Evie is the JL of the family. It's great.
Yeah, so my sister's placement, she's an Aries sun with a Gemini moon. And so Jamie has the opposite moon sign, but the same sun sign as my sister.
That's funny.
Anyway. I'm just looking at this like, this is funny. But I'm actually closer in age to Jamie.
Jamie Lynn?
Yeah. Jamie Lynn. Sorry.
Like, Jamie's her dad. Jamie
Lynn. Okay. I'm getting... All right. I'm going to go back to the chart. So, we have her... Okay. I think something that's really fascinating about her chart is that she's got a lot of, like, opposite situations as Brittney, but, like, similar stuff. Oh my god. So it's like the same kind of situations happening, but she is getting opposite type reactions. So her south node and
you're so excited. I can't wait.
Okay. So her north and south node are opposite. So she has the south node in Cancer and the north node in Capricorn.
Oh my god.
And so the stuff that's happening with her is like flipped. Like the way they treat the girls, obviously they're probably like difficult on both of them, but like in like very different ways, because Jamie isn't dealing with any of this, and she didn't have a conservatorship and need to, you know what I mean? She it was flipped. She ended up having her baby. It sounds like it was traumatic. She has Chiron on the south node in Cancer, but it seems like it was not treated like it was with Brittney. And I think that happens with younger siblings a lot, where they're like, well, that was kind of difficult with the older one. We're going to do it different this time. Like, it's the same situation, but there's a different reaction.
Parents are just adjusting and being like, well, I don't like the way we handled that because the outcome wasn't what we really wanted, so let's do something different here. That totally makes sense.
And also idealizing the younger children, like angelifying them a little bit.
Okay.
And then, so we've got this other situation on the chart.
And they have a significant age difference, too. That's like, she's significantly younger. They're not like 2 years apart.
Like 10 years.
Yeah, they are very significantly...
Yeah, they'd have to be for the...
Like, her whole life, she had a famous sister. Her whole life. So, it was never...
Yeah, very different.
Yeah, it was a very different upbringing than what Brittney and Brian, her older brother, had.
And that's why we could see more of this reflected. And her North Node is actually at the 24th degree of Capricorn.
Oh my God, are you
serious? Going on. And Juno, so she's very, like, involved in a way.
Yeah.
And then she has the Neptune-Uranus conjunction in Capricorn, like all the early 90s, late 80s babies. So we see a lot going on, involvement with her and all these issues on those charts. The other thing I wanted to mention was she has Ceres at 0 degrees, 0 seconds, Scorpio. And I just feel like it's so close. It's so close to the Neptune stuff on that everyone else has in Libra. That late Libra, like, conjunctions that all the other charts are involved with. I think that she just, like, barely missed it, and, like, she gets, like, this loving placement there. And I'm like, it's just, it makes me mad. It makes me irritated.
Oh.
She does have a lot of fire in her chart, obviously, with the moon and the sun. She also has Mercury in Aries. So I could see her kind of speaking more brashly and not really, like, thinking as much about what she's saying. She, the Aries energy is a little bit more, like, short-sighted with excitement and, like, stuff like that. Like, it's not, like, compared to Sagittarius, where you're, like, taking things really far and thinking big and dreaming and these big aspirations and journeys. Like, it's just a very different, it's both fire, but it's very different.
Yes, and I do have, so this is just coming straight from Brittney, things she said over the years about, she has said in past, she felt that Jamie Lynn would have handled the fame better.
Really?
Yes, Brittney has said this openly. Because Jamie Lynn is also a singer. I don't know, like, I mean, we talked about her cover. She actually, I really like the song Shotgun Wedding, and I hate to admit it, but it's real catchy. It's very country.
I don't know which ones I've listened to and liked, but I have listened.
That was the one that I was like, okay, this is not bad, actually, and I kind of hate that I enjoyed this song. It's just kind of catchy if you can handle country music. It's got that twanginess that you may love and enjoy about country music. It's also just interesting to hear her voice and how different it is than Brittney's. But then, of course, she was an actress and all of that.
Different everything.
That Jamie Lynn always really wanted to be famous. She always, like, really, like, that was exciting. I think she still does. She still, like, really sing a book. Okay, so now we're going to move to a topic that I really just want to speculate about. This is just a discussion about possible future events. Nobody get mad at us. I think these charts, as you go through them and interpret them, it's going to be like telling us about the energy of what we can expect maybe as far as accountability with the abuse that we know went on in this conservatorship. And I'm specifically hoping to learn about, like, any legal charges, anything, especially with Jamie Spears. We all know Matthew Rosengart, Brittney's attorney, is going through every bit of this with a fine-tooth comb. Based on what we know, I think we can expect some sort of illegal breach of privacy that you, like, alluded to earlier with all the recording and the cameras in her room and all of that shit. But yeah, we want to know, like, if there's any maybe financial mishandlings in there somewhere, possibly. These are just the things that I feel like are likely. If we find anything at all, it's probably going to be in one of these buckets. Again, pure speculation. We have no way of knowing this. We do not have access to these confidential court files. I wish we did, but we do not. And also we definitely want to look at Brittany's chart. What lies ahead? I want to see her living her best life, living her dreams, getting married to Sam Asghari, her current fiance, starting a family. I want also for you to suss Sam out hardcore because it's always been a thing among fans. Like, we really want Sam to be a good guy. We want to love him. We want him to be the right one. He wasn't born in the U.S., so he didn't grow up, like, knowing who Brittany was or anything. So he didn't view her the way everybody else did when they met. They met on the set of one of her music videos, I believe. And so they had, it's like one of those things that people have been like, oh, did the conservatorship hire him, or like how is he involved, or how, because they have to approve anybody in her life,
right?
So what did he have to go through? How many NDAs did he have to sign? Also, Sam has been a good time publicly with the Free Britney movement. He openly called Jamie a dick when asked about, what do you think of Jamie Spears? And he goes, Jamie's a dick. And it was really, really fucking funny.
I love that so much.
He's very gung-ho about Brittany. I feel like they have a really physical, fiery connection. He calls her his lioness.
I love them. I picking up on their energies together. Yes, I love it.
I really want to see what you see on just anything future for her.
First off, with James, he's got some Saturn stuff happening around his North Node. Saturn's going to be coming around to meet his North Node over the next year or so. So we've got it narrowing in. It's getting, as it gets closer and closer, he's going to be coming into more and more consequences for his actions, but it will be kind of slow, like in stages, and it'll be not all at once. It'll probably take some time. Right now, Jupiter just went over his North Node, where he really moved forward in his life path, and everything was magnified. So now with Saturn coming through, he's gonna really have to own up to what his actions, what he's done so far on his life path.
Time to face the
just a karmic thing, really. Yep. And he's got so many karmic things with his Saturn and how it is conjunct Brittany's Saturn. There's going to be and both of them being in Libra, like the house of, or the sign of like partnerships and duality, but legal things as well. Like, it's going to be very very justicey, very Saturn, like you knew what the rules were kind of thing. So like I'm really like interested.
A solid finger wag. Like, you knew the rules when you broke them.
Also with Pluto moving out of Capricorn and out of Brittany's 4th house, those would be other big timelines to look at. Like Capricorn, I think I'm getting tired. Pluto is got like another year or two in Capricorn, I believe. And then I think it'll be like 2026 by the time it's really out of her 4th house. So that'll be this last bit of Pluto moving out of there will be like kind of all the finishing touches, getting all the little T's crossed, I's dotted kind of thing.
It's like final resolution of all this whole fucking thing.
So I think it'll be some time. It's not going to be immediate. It'll be stages of this, but repercussions will happen. Everything will kind of fall away from the conservatorship. The structure will be fixed. Things will be really, little bows will be tied. It'll be good. Cleared out, like more clean slate. And speaking of clean slate energy, with this eclipse in a couple days for Brittany, like looking at her future more so, like she's got this eclipse on her sun sign, and she's got all these conjunctions that the eclipse will also have. The new moon eclipse will have Mercury, close to where Brittany's Mercury is, Mercury conjunction, and a Vesta conjunction, which is also where Brittany has her Vesta. We'll see a pretty almost Lilith opposition, so a lot to do with like freedom and empowerment and things like that. So much of this new beginning, new moon energy will be coming through for Brittany. And eclipses always highlight these big moments. So I'm really excited for that. It will be sextile her natal moon as well, so it'll be really great. It'll be really helpful. I think that her traveling right now for her birthday is so on point as well. Like she's traveling for her Sagittarius birthday. How Sagittarius, like for the eclipse to too. I know, it's amazing, and so I think it really fits. There will be Saturn kind of moving over her moon, which I'm curious to see how that plays out. But overall, like I really like this eclipse energy for her that we're about to have. The South Node will be moving out of Sagittarius soon, where, you know, and Pluto will be moving out of Capricorn. So I think that some of these stressors on her chart will be kind of moving along, because South Node on the Sun is not super comfortable. I'm about to have that. She's going to pass it off to me.
Oh, no.
But it'll be really great. I see a lot more like freedom coming in for her with these like stressors off her chart. And also for her, she has so many returns happening right now. It's crazy. She also has a Venus return. I didn't see that a minute ago. So she's got Mercury, Sun, Vesta, Venus, all these returns. So Lou Taylor has a Mars return right now.
Oh, look at her.
It's fun.
Look at her.
Oh, no, not Mars return. No, sorry. That's where she had her sun. My bad. Ignore me.
Yeah.
Ignore me. That's just not true. I'm getting tired. I said that. So I think that, yeah, I'm excited. So looking forward past right now, is there anything else I want to bring up? I don't want to go too far in the future.
Yeah. We just love seeing good things for
her girl. And Mr.
Sam Asghari.
Sam. I gotta tell you guys Sam's chart.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Sam's chart, but it looks. Is he?
I've got a lot on here. She's trying to see what I'm doing, but it's Sorry for the clicking. We had to move the audio over to my computer, so just to let you guys know, we had some technical difficulties.
We have experienced technical. If you're on YouTube, you already are aware.
But we're wrapping this up. So we've got Sam. He is a Pisces.
Yay!
With a Sagittarius moon. So he's like living for this Sagittarius energy. I love that.
This is great.
And the Pisces. Oh, I just love this so much. I already like it so much. So my gut feeling is good.
Yay! Okay, we're sussing out Sam. We are feeling good about it. Mm-hmm. It's excellent.
Excellent. I think he's going to be really on top of wanting to make improve the conservatorship situation with Brittney, just because on that Capricorn spot that I've been all obsessed about, he has the classic early 90s, late 80s Neptune Uranus conjunction, and this is like, you know, innovation, creativity, the internet. It's all of these things, and wanting to do better in like the Capricornistic society. I think that he's going to be really seeing through all of that and able to help her with this, and really, but also really connect with her about it. So I like that. Let's see, where was her Venus in? It was right there too. Yeah, so they have Venus sextile Venus. I like that. Her Mars was in Virgo. His is in Aquarius. I feel like Virgo and Aquarius are complementary enough. Let's see. He does have Chiron in Virgo, so I kind of wonder how that might go. Like if they got in an argument, I kind of wonder if her, when she showed her fiery Mars side, if it would really, really hurt, like trigger him or hurt his feelings. There's nothing that I'm super concerned about. Her Chiron is around where his South Node is, I believe. Let me pull back to her chart for a second. Yes. My memory served me correctly.
We've looked at a lot of charts, so that's impressive. That's impressive right now.
Thank you. His, so he will already kind of naturally be veering away from the type of energy that her trauma is in. So I think that he wants to, like, he's not gonna trigger her as much, I don't think.
Okay, good.
Unless he is, like, in a really bad spot, or if he, like, regresses in life a whole lot. But I think we're good on that.
All right. Feeling good about this based on your notes.
Yeah. I'm wondering if that bit about Saturn and Pisces made it on here. Now that I think about it. Oh, yeah, it did. It was Lou Taylor's.
Okay.
He has Saturn and Pisces. It's not, let's see, it's 9 degrees away from his sun, so this can be a little bit stressful of a placement, but I think that he has Venus also just about like 11 degrees away from his sun. It's gonna kind of be that's an interesting combo, all in Pisces.
Yeah.
Saturn, Sun, and Venus all in different decans of Pisces. It
just doesn't feel like those three things should be together. It doesn't seem like
it's a very loving self, but it's also a very disciplined self. And it's and responsible, but also like heart space. It's like
that feels values, just like his
values.
His
but in Pisces, so it's like compassionate, creative. It's like kind of ethereal in a way. Like I really like it. He has a bunch in Scorpio. He's got North Node of Scorpio, obviously. Pluto at the end of Scorpio. Jupiter in Scorpio. They both have Jupiter in Scorpio then, yeah? I like that. That's really, really intense for a couple. I love that. It's very like growth, spiritual, sexual, intense, benefic. I love that. He's got Juno where her Jupiter is, I believe. So I don't have them overlaid right now, but yes, that is correct. So I think that it's like a really great opportunity for him, and he's very committed, and like vice versa. She'll probably be naturally pretty committed to him too, with her Juno being like early Sagittarius, and that's kind of where his moon was in the first decan of Sagittarius. So I like the charts, I think.
All right. So we are trusting Sam more and more as the minutes roll on. Like, check out his chart. Because it's just, that has been something, because there is a significant age difference between them as well. It's just been a lot of things that have made people speculate. How did he...
Like 13 years.
Yeah. How did he make it into the conservatorship? Like, how did he get past the iron gates? Like, did he pass all the background checks? Or what made them say he was approved? And, like, what kind of legal things went on with that? Like, there's just been a lot of... He seems like he has complied a lot. And as soon as he had a chance to start, like, flipping them off, like, in his actions, it just, like, made me trust him more. Because it, like, kind of made me feel like he wasn't afraid. Like, he's like, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, that Mercury conjunct Mars in Aquarius.
Yeah, that feels rebellious as fuck.
He's going to be able to handle the structure, but, like, do better and, like, rebel it and, like, try to fix the situation, because it's like, especially with like a systematic error of society like that, like Aquarius energy is going to want to, like, okay, this needs to be addressed, this needs to be innovated, this needs to be improved,
Yeah, I could see him really, like, empowering her, like
on a moral level,
like, babe, you got to speak up, this is wrong, like, they can't do this to you. I could see him being very much like, they can't get away with this, like, we gotta so I like them together. All right. Is there anything else that you see?
I think that's it.
Okay. So you guys, thank you so much for coming on this ride with us. This has been the astrology of Britney Spears and all sorts of characters involved in her life. We hope nothing but amazing things for her. Absolutely love her. Happy birthday. Happy to Britney. Happy Sagittarius season to us all. peace be with you during this eclipse season, whatever is going on there. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow, rate, review. You can join our Patreon for bonus content. We've got some hot shit on there. We have 3 different tiers you can join. We have merchandise on our website. I believe it's darkalignmentpodcast.com. Is that correct? Yes, it is. So thank you guys again for joining us. We will see you next time. And don't forget to chart all the bitches in your life. And we will see you next time. Bye.